Good morning. Welcome to Thursday morning, the fourth day in our series of 5 classes. And no discussion about peace would be complete without a mention of the shadow, the other side, right? Because I've mentioned throughout the week that we can't just feel peaceful all the time. We might like to, we might want to, and we might get to a point where we feel peaceful a lot of the time. But we're still human, and we still have feelings and emotions that can be challenging at times. And the goal is to bring ourselves back to peace, back to a sense of equilibrium, back to a sense of groundedness more quickly, right? So the tendency that we have as human beings is to get stuck in our thoughts, especially our negative thoughts, and they spin, and they spin, and they spin, and they take us down with them. So if we have a strategy when that arises for us to come back to a place that feels more peaceful to us, that's going to serve us well day to day. So I thought I'd read you another quote from this wonderful book called Peace is Every Step by the Vietnamese monk Thich Nhat Hanh, who I think most people are probably at least familiar with his name because he's been writing. He has many, many books, and he's been writing and teaching for years. And I know I know that some of you are familiar with his work. So this this section that I'm going to read to you is, excuse me, is, in a chapter called The River of Feelings. So there are 3 sorts of feelings: pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral. When we have an unpleasant feeling, we may want to chase it away. But it's more effective to return to our conscious breathing and just observe it, identifying it silently to ourselves. Breathing in, I know there's an unpleasant feeling in me. Breathing out, I know there is an unpleasant feeling in me. Calling a feeling by its name, such as anger, sorrow, joy, or happiness, helps us identify it clearly and recognize it more deeply. We can use our breathing to be in contact with our feelings and accept them. If our breathing is light and calm, a natural result of conscious breathing, which is what we've been practicing all week, is conscious breathing, our mind and body will slowly become light, calm, and clear, and our feelings also. Mindful observation is based on the principle of non-duality. Our feeling is not separate from us or caused merely by something outside us. Our feeling is us. And for the moment, we are that feeling. We are neither drowned in nor terrorized by the feeling, nor do we reject it. Our attitude of not clinging or of rejecting our feelings is the attitude of letting go, an important part of meditation practice. If we face our unpleasant feelings with care, affection, and non-violence, we can transform them into the kind of energy that is healthy and has the capacity to nourish us. By the work of mindful observation, our unpleasant feelings can illuminate so much for us, offering us insight and understanding into ourselves and society. So basically what happens when we subvert a feeling, when we push it down, when we ignore it, when we try to pretend that it isn't happening, it isn't existing, it often leaks out in other ways, and it can come out as blame, it can come out as criticism, it can come up as shame. I'm just going to put my phone in airplane mode, so that, which I usually do before I start the session. So those feelings can come out towards other people as I said, as blame or shame, or as criticism, shame towards ourselves. And when we accept and embrace those feelings, what happens is we actually gain a great deal of compassion. And so when we accept our unpleasant feelings of anger, sadness, irritation, and we bring that in and live with it, live in it, then when we encounter someone else who's struggling with those feelings, we we have more compassion as a result. There's a challenging breath practice in a Buddhist breath practice called Tonglen. And that's where you breathe in all of the unpleasant, gooey stuff that we usually want to push away. And we breathe out compassion and love towards ourselves and towards others. And it can be very uncomfortable to do this technique at first. And we're not going to practice that today. It's just something to share with you. And if you're interested in that practice of really going more deeply into your own shadow, then you might look up Tonglen, Tonglen. But for today, what we'll do is, we don't have to go digging for unpleasant feelings. They come up regularly, and they may come up in our yoga practice. So we're going to focus on different parts of the body today and open up and create some space in those parts, doing some joint rotation and whatnot. And as we come to each place, I'll invite you to really take your attention there and notice how it feels for you. And as far as I know, there's only women on this in this class, but your husbands and sons and fathers or whoever may be in the room with you, and that's completely fine. But what I'm going to say next is addressed mainly to the women in the group. And we've been really taught over our lifetimes to subvert our feelings, and we've been taught to not love our bodies unless they're perfect. So there's probably, and this is true of men as well, and especially more, in the recent past. And when we ignore or we shun or we cut ourselves off from parts of our body, they can become numb, and we end up with not a lot of feeling in those parts. And so as we go through, notice, is there feeling in this area? Can I actually contact feeling in this part of my body? And how do I feel about this part of my body? And as I say this, I also want to say that this could be a little triggering. It could bring up some challenging feelings for you. In part, that's the point. But on the other hand, we don't want to create a situation where you're overwhelmed by challenging feelings. So feel free at any point, if you feel like stuff is coming up for you and you want to look at it more deeply, or you don't want to look at it, feel free to leave the class or stop the class or pause the class, put it on mute. You can always come back to it later on YouTube and redo the class when you're feeling a little stronger, a little bit more ready to look at what's going on for you. And you can always engage with this theme to the extent that feels comfortable with you, right? Check in a little, check back out, right? At home, sometimes it's easier to go more deeply in ourselves, because you might have the space around you, but other times it can be more challenging because there's distractions and there's maybe pets or other people around. So honor yourself. And I would suggest this morning, if it feels right for you, you might even take a few moments quietly after the class to write down some thoughts or feelings, like in a journal. All right, so we're going to start our practice with we'll focus on our breath. So you can let the hands rest on the thighs or in the lap or whatever position is comfortable for you, being on the floor or on a chair. Maybe you're sitting up in bed, I'm not sure. Wherever you are, try to find a comfortable position. Close your eyes if that feels right for you. Keep them open if you prefer. And start to tune into your breath. Maybe even listening to what I was saying this morning has brought up some challenging feelings for you. And if that's the case, can you sit with that? Can you be with that? Can you notice that? Ideally, without trying to push it away or trying to come back to any sense of peace, acknowledging and welcoming in whatever is present for you. And come back to your breath. So we're not doing anything special with the breath at this point. Simply breathing, being aware of the breath. And being aware at the same time of what's going on for us emotionally. And opening some space to receive whatever is present, whatever comes up today. But also recognizing it's okay to back off, to take a moment. A few more breaths here. As I mentioned in one of the earlier classes, if you find the breath is a challenging focus for you to come back to anything that's in the present. You could do this movement of opening and closing the hands to simulate the movement of the breath and bring some awareness to the body, or maybe it's just noticing any sensations that are present in your body and or the sounds around you. So anything that brings you back to this moment can be helpful. So we're going to work with the cat-cow pose to warm up the spine, and I'm going to offer you a alternative movement for the head. So as you come to the inhale position and there's a lift in the chest, we're not throwing the head back, we're keeping it in line with the curve of the spine. And as you exhale, feel free to take your head to one side as you round your back and roll down to that side, bringing the chin forward. Inhale straight up through the center. And as you exhale, you could take your head to the other side and gently roll it down as you round the back and exhale. So we're coming up through the center and alternating sides. If that feels okay for your neck, if you prefer moving straight forward and straight back, then let that be the option that you choose. Try to keep your shoulders relaxed. I just caught my shoulders rolling up towards my ears. My neck is a little stiff this morning, as it is every morning, and you might be like me in that regard. So take your time, be gentle with yourself. And then if you like, you can start to circle the head. As the head lifts up, lift the chest. As the head comes down, you can round. So it's same kind of cat-cow movement for the back, for the spine, but also moving the head at the same time. Again, if that feels uncomfortable or awkward, you can either just move the head or just stay with cat-cow, whatever your body needs this morning. Maybe you need more movement for the neck. Switch directions with your circles if you're circling. Maybe you need more movement for your spine. So checking in, using this as an opportunity to discover, what do you want? We spend so much of our lives pleasing others, as some of us do. And when we come to our mat, it's really about pleasing ourselves, loving ourselves, recognizing all of who we are and inviting it in. Coming back to the center, you can let the arms hang down to your sides, and we'll make fists with the hands and gently squeeze as you lift the shoulders up, breathing in, and then release the hands and stretch the fingers down toward the ground as you reach the crown of the head up. Inhale, make your neck disappear. And exhale, grow your neck long, reach the shoulders down, reach the fingers down, spread the hands wide. Good. A couple more. And if you like, you can add in some rotations for your shoulders. If you like, you can bring the arms into that rotation as well. Creating a little space and openness through the shoulders, the chest, the upper back. Great. And then let's do a few circles for the wrists. You can circle with your hands open or in fists. A little of each. For both directions, the experience is a little different when we go the other way. And spread the fingers wide. Feel a stretch across your hand. Squeeze your hands tight. And then give them a shake. Wonderful. We're going to come to stand now. I just had to check my notes and make sure. And just move the screen down so that you can see most of me, I hope. See a little bit more at the top here. Hopefully that works. So coming to mountain pose. Feeling your feet on the ground. So we're going to start working from the base now, from the feet, and kind of checking in with the feet feet and ankles and calves. So we'll take one foot forward. Let's take the left foot forward so we're all on the same side, and bend both knees. And what we're looking to feel here is a stretch in the back ankle. Take a moment with that stretch. And then you can bring your hands onto your front knee and step that back foot back a foot or two and press your heel toward the ground. The toes are pointing forward, both feet in the same direction. And we're pressing the heel down to find a little bit of stretch into the upper part of the calf here. If you don't feel much stretch, take the foot back a little further. And if your heel comes all the way to the ground, you might want to step back further and feel that you're reaching for the ground to find that stretch. As long as that's comfortable for you, it might be too much stretch right now, first thing in the morning. Let's step forward with the right foot. And then be careful with this one. For some people, if your feet tend to cramp, this can create that cramping. You'll take the top of your foot and bring your toenails down to the ground. And very gentle pressure. And if your foot starts to cramp, turn your toes under and press your heel forward to stretch the arch, and that might help to relieve that cramp. You could roll from your baby toes to your big toes if you want a little bit more stretch across the top of your foot here. And then stepping onto your left foot, take the right foot forward. If you need to hold on to something to balance, you can do that. I won't hold on to the curtain because I might just pull it right down. Circle one way and then the other. And give a shake. And then come back to Tadasana, mountain pose. And bring your awareness down to that right lower leg. So right calf, right ankle, right foot, the bottom of the foot, and the top of the foot. Oh, there's one stretch we didn't do actually, is to bring that stretch I told you would relieve the cramp. You can try that. So pressing the ball of your foot down, press the heel forward. Sorry about that. And then as we come back to mountain pose and bring the attention down to the right lower leg, the right foot, ankle, noticing what's present there. So you might feel a little space, or maybe there's some other sensations there. It may feel bigger or smaller than your other foot now. You might also notice any emotions that arise as you bring your attention down to your feet. If at all, we don't have to force anything. I mentioned earlier. And then let's work with the other side. So we'll take the right foot forward now. Left foot is back, maybe a foot or so between your 2 feet, both feet pointing in the same direction, parallel to one another. If you feel like you're on a tightrope, move your feet wider, side to side. And then we'll bend both knees. So bend the back knee to find that stretch in the ankle, front knee, to support that stance. And then you can bring your hands to your front knee and step back with the left foot. Again, both feet are pointing forward, same direction, and you're pressing the heel toward the ground. The back leg is straight now. And if you find you need more stretch, step the back foot back a little bit further, reaching the heel toward the ground. Step the feet back together, and we'll take the top of the foot gently to the ground. Feel that stretch across the top of your foot. Maybe roll from the outside edge to the inside edge, the baby toes, big toes. If your foot cramps, turn the toes under and press the heel forward, which we'll all do now. So toes and ball of your foot come to the ground. And then pressing the heel forward, stretching out the arch of your foot. And again, we'll step onto the right foot and circle. Circle your ankle around. You might hear some creaks and cracking. Mine just cracked. Circle the other way. And give a little shake. And come back to Tadasana. So now observing your left foot, ankle, calf, the lower part of your left leg, and notice what's present there. Notice what you feel, if anything. As I mentioned earlier, sometimes we get a little cut off from parts of our body. We're not paying a lot of attention. And our feet we tend to not really pay attention to unless they hurt. So noticing how your feet feel. Maybe they hurt right now, I hope not, but if that's the case, acknowledge, notice that. If there's anything you need to do to support that, of course, do. Slide the hands down to the knees now, and we'll circle around with the knees. Notice how your knees feel as you do this movement. Circling one way, circling the other way. You might feel it in your ankles or your hips as well, depending on where there's tightness for you. Let's come back up. I'll work a little bit with the knees and the quads now in the Utkatasana, chair pose or half squat. Let's press down into the feet. Inhale, lift the arms. And as you exhale, you can bring the hands down to your thighs and imagine you're going to sit in a chair. Inhale, lift. Exhale, half squat. We did this yesterday, I think, and I'll show you from the side. As you come down, you want the hips going back, knees over ankles, chest lifting as the back arches a little. If you want to work harder, keep the arms up as you sit down. This time you have the option to stay. If you want to keep moving, you can keep on moving. If you're staying, you have the option to have the arms up. They could be out front, which is a little easier. They could be on the thighs, which gives much more support. One more breath. Inhale, lift. Taking the arms overhead. Exhale. Release. So again, take a moment to notice the quads, the front part of your thighs. So we've woken up the energy a little bit in that area. Notice what you feel. And then we can try stretching out the quads by taking the foot behind. So this could be challenging for some in terms of balance. So you can always use your wall or whatever's handy. A chair might be good. And shifting your weight onto one foot, take the opposite leg behind, taking hold of the top of the foot. And then you want to bring the knees side by side. Draw the heel towards your hip. Tailbone down, belly back. Feeling a stretch across the thigh. If you don't feel much stretch, you can start to take the knee back a little bit. And then as you're ready, release. If you noticed, I had one hand on my belly, the other hand holding my foot, which I find helps me with balance a little bit. You can try that, or you can hold on to something more concrete than your belly, something more stable in the room. When you're ready, shift your weight to the other foot, lifting the opposite leg behind you. Knees come side by side, drawing the heel towards your hip, tailbone sinking down, lower belly moving back. If you want more stretch, take the knee back a little. Good. And then we'll release. Come back to mountain pose. So now again, checking in with the front of your thighs and feeling whatever's present there. Now we'll work a little bit with the back of the thighs into the hamstrings that run from the knees to the hips, stretching that area with a forward bend. So you can take the arms up and out to the sides, breathing in. As you exhale, you can start with nice bent knees, coming down. Let the head release. Come halfway up, hands to the shins or the knees. Let the tail lift, so feel a little more stretch in the hamstrings likely. And then fold forward. Exhaling as you fold forward. And then we'll come all the way up. Breathing in. Exhale. And releasing. So let's do that again. Inhale, lift up. Soften your knees, coming forward. Inhale to the half forward bend position. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, lift all the way up. Shoulders come down as the arms lift. There's nice ease in the neck, and then release the arms to the sides. Inhale, lift. Exhale, release. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, fold forward. Let the head go. Inhale, come all the way up. And exhale, arms down. And then take a moment to feel your hamstrings, the back of the legs. And if your knees are quite bent there, you may not feel a lot of stretch in that position, but we'll do a little bit more when we come to lie down, looking at the hamstrings. Let's take the hands onto the hips now and separate the feet a little ways. And we'll do some circles with the hips. I don't know if you can hear the cracks through the microphone. Those of you who've been in class with me heard those hip cracks many times. You might be hearing your own hips creaking and cracking. Circle one way a few times and then go the other way. Great, and And coming back to the center, keep the legs a little wider, so they're about shoulder distance or slightly wider. Notice if you've locked your knees, and try to keep the knees soft so they're not hyperextended. They can be straight, but you don't want to feel that feeling of being locked. You want to feel your thighs engaged. Let's take both arms up, breathing in. We're going to come into a side bend. So releasing one arm to the side, reach up and over with the other arm. Come up to the center and switch arms, and then to the other side. So you're inhaling as you come up and switch arms. The palm faces towards where the other hand would be if it were overhead. Exhale to the side. Inhale, lift. Exhale, reaching over. Good. You can do a few more dynamically, or if it feels good for you, you might stay for a few breaths. As you're staying, notice if you're collapsing on the inside of that crescent, or if you can really lengthen. Make sure you're not twisting forward with that upper shoulder, but that it's drawing down and back, chest open, lifting. Breathing into the armpit, into the side of the waist. Coming up when you're ready. If you're staying, you can keep going dynamically if you like, or be done with this pose at any time. Reaching up to the other side. Make sure you're breathing. Make sure you're not collapsing the inside. Lifting up out of both sides of the waist. This arm can just dangle or rest against the leg. Let's come all the way up. Release that arm down. I'll bring the feet in a little closer. Then we'll come down to hands to knees and work with a kind of cat-cow movement here. So inhaling, chest forward. Exhaling. You can either round the back from that position, or on your exhale, instead of rounding the back, you could slide the hands down and come to a forward bend. So it would be inhale, hands to knees, lengthening the spine and extension. Exhale, either rounding or going forward. And you could alternate if you like, as I'm doing. After your next exhale, whichever position you're in, you'll find your way back up to standing. Breathing in. Exhaling to release. Before we switch positions and get onto the ground, let's take a moment here in Tadasana, in mountain pose, to feel the body. So we've worked from the feet all the way up into the waist, into the shoulders. We started out working, top down a little bit with the neck and shoulders. So we've covered a lot of the body in terms of our movement, joint rotation. So observe what you notice here. And if any challenging or unpleasant feelings arise, see if you can invite them in as simply part of this experience, not as something to be shunned or pushed away or ignored. Acknowledged, loved. We love our kids even when they're bad. Even when there's parts of our loved ones that we don't like, we overall love them. Can we extend that same love to ourselves, even though there's parts of ourselves we may not like? We may never like them, and that's okay. But we still love them. We still accept them. We still bring them in, invite them in, welcome them. And as you're ready, you're going to make your way down onto the ground on your back. And I'm going to flip the screen down a little bit so I'm more visible. You'll come onto your back and pause there for a moment. You can let the hands come onto your belly or onto your rib cage, wherever you can feel your breath. And take a moment here to observe how your body feels in this position. Back to your breath. Notice any feelings that may be present, whether those are pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. We cycle through all of those feelings, those types of feelings, most days. Most days aren't completely unpleasant or completely pleasant. So notice what is present for you right now. As much kindness and compassion as possible. And then we'll invite the knees up in toward the chest. Do a little movement here, bringing the knees toward the body and away from the body. So you're inhaling knees away, exhaling knees in. As always, you can coordinate with the breath on my suggestions, or you can breathe and move freely. Good. As you bring the knees in, this time we'll keep the right knee into the chest and bring the left foot to the floor. You can take your hands behind the thigh. It's also possible to do this without holding onto the leg. So if your hips or your hamstrings are quite tight, as you lift your leg, the leg might go away from you and you may not be able to continue to hold on comfortably without straining. So in that case, I would suggest just leave the hands on the body or on the ground. We'll straighten the leg. The breath in, you can flex that foot. Exhale, relax the foot as it comes in. If you want to keep the hands on the leg, you could maybe invite a little more stretch, a little more compression with each movement, as long as that feels okay for your body. Notice if there's aggression. We're trying to get somewhere and try to ease off. Finding the stretch that feels relaxed and comfortable, yet there's a stretch there. The next time your knee comes into your chest, next time your leg is up in the air, we'll stay there and we'll circle the ankle. Swing one way and the other. Again, if you're still holding on, you might feel more relaxed for your shoulders to let go. One way and the other with your circles, and then relax your foot, give the leg a shake. And then we'll bring that leg into the chest, hands around the shin or behind the thigh, stretching the other leg out on the ground. And let's do a little bit of movement for this right hip. You can take the right hand onto the knee and do some little circles here. If you want your circle to be bigger, if that would feel good for you, you can start to make it bigger, maybe sliding the hand off the knee as the knee moves away from you. Try both directions. Great. And then as you come back to center, we'll take a hold of that right knee and bend the left leg. And here we'll take the right ankle and place it just above the knee. You can take your right hand to your right thigh and gently press away with that hand. This may be plenty of stretch for some of you, in which case you've arrived at the pose. Congratulations, enjoy. If you want to go further, raising the foot off the ground is going to bring more stretch into this outer hip. So you might place something under your foot. If you have a block, you can place a block under your foot. If it's accessible to you, you could reach your hands behind your thigh, or if you have a belt handy or even a sock, you could use that to extend the reach behind your thigh. So as you come here, for many people, the stretch will be experienced in the outer right hip, but it could be in the inner thigh. The lower back could be anywhere, really. Wherever you feel tightness, send your breath. So you may enjoy a little side-to-side rocking movement, which will move the stretch around a little bit. And then when you're ready to release, you'll bring that foot to the floor, uncross the legs. Start with the knees and the ankles together, and we'll do a couple times butterfly, opening the knees, bringing them back together. Inhale as you open. Exhale back together. And then we'll bring the left knee in, or the other knee. I can't remember if I gave you instructions as to which leg. I think I did. So if you're with me on the left side, if not, that's fine. You can follow the instructions with the other side. So holding the knee in, and bring the hands behind the thigh, or again, you could let go if that's better for you. Reaching the leg up, flexing the foot, relaxing the foot as you bend in. Continuing that motion. Pace a few more times. You can leave the leg up in the air and circle the ankle around. Again, if holding on feels like a strain, let go. Circle your ankle one way and then the other. And then relax your foot. Give the leg a shake. Bend the knee back in toward your chest. You can bring the hands again over the shin or behind the thigh. And if it's comfortable for you, you'll extend the right leg or the opposite leg on the ground. And press down with the heel on the ground, up with the toes. You're welcome to keep that knee bent if that's more comfortable for you. And we'll take the left hand onto the left knee and start with little circles for the left hip. And eventually, if it feels good for your hip to make a larger circle, you can do that. And again, it may be that you want even a bigger circle, and you can slide the hand away from the knee as the knee goes away from the torso. Both directions. Okay, and as you come back into the center, you can hang on to that knee. As you bend the right leg or the other leg, cross your ankle over the thigh. Take a moment and press, generally the left hand pressing away, but you can actually press both hands away on the thighs, which will also give a little traction for the spine as well as opening for the hip. Recognize that this side may not be the same as the other side, so you may want to choose a different position. You can either stay where you are, raise this foot by placing something under it, or use a strap, a belt, or a sock behind your leg, or interlace your fingers if that's accessible to you. Try to keep your chin slightly in so the back of the neck isn't hyperextending. And if you need to have a little pillow or a folded blanket under your head to help support, then certainly do that if you've got something handy. You might rock a little side to side. And then coming back to the center, releasing the feet to the ground. You can let the hands rest on the body. Bring the knees and the ankles together, and we will butterfly the knees open with the breath in, and then back together. You can give a little squeeze with the knees and press down with the feet as you exhale. Do that little pelvic tilt, and then as you inhale, the back will naturally arch as the knees come apart. And then squeeze the knees together, press down to the feet. More like that. Go at your own pace. And then as you come back to the center, we'll bring the knees back into the chest. One hand on each knee. So here are a few different options for the arms. The legs are going to stretch toward the ceiling, both legs. They can be straight or slightly bent. The hands could come behind the thighs. They could go out to the sides or overhead. So either position, this is where you'll be at the end of your exhale, one of those positions, and at the end of your inhale, and at the end of your exhale, knees to chest, hands to knees. Squeeze in gently. Inhale, extend and reach your arms and legs away. Exhale, contract into the center. Continue, a few more at your own pace. And then hugging the knees into the chest. If you like, you can rock side to side, or you might circle the knees, or some combination of those movements. And if it's comfortable for you, give yourself a little hug and a squeeze in. And then we'll slowly release the feet to the floor. Pause for a moment as your feet land. Feel the back of your body on the ground. Feel the support beneath you. We worked quite a lot with the lower body, with the thighs, the legs, the feet, and the ankles. If you like, you can stretch the legs out as long as it's comfortable for your lower back. We'll let the feet fall away from each other to the sides. And take a moment to notice from the thighs down to the feet what you are aware of, what you experience, what you feel in this moment. Whether that's pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. And that could be physically pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. It could be emotionally. Notice whatever is there for you. The hands can be wherever you like. I like to keep them where I can feel the breath and feel myself. If you want them on the floor, that's fine. And take about a minute or so to simply observe the breath and the body here. We'll do a little bit more movement after that. And let your shoulders release, the neck and jaw relax. Can you be aware of the movement of the breath in your body, whether your hands are on the body or not? Welcome whatever arises. It's all a part of who you are in this moment. Pleasant, the unpleasant, the neutral. Your definition of who you are include all of that. Soften a little more around the face, neck, and shoulders. A little more breath. And when you're ready to bring some movement back to the body, start by taking the arms to the sides, bending your knees, feet to the floor. Feel your lower back settle. We'll do a little bit of a twist to release the low back and the hips before we come back to sit. Taking a breath in. As you exhale, take the knees to one side. You might release the head to the opposite side if that feels good. And then back to center with an inhale and switching sides. You can continue like this. Knees going one way, head going the other way. And if you want a little more stretch for the upper back, you could take an alternate arm position where the arms come over the body, the elbows, hands to opposite elbows. So then as the head goes one way, the elbows go with the head, and the knees go the opposite way. And then you bring everything back to center and opposite direction. Side to side. Your own pace, your own breath creates the rhythm. Or as always, you can move in the rhythm that feels comfortable to you and simply breathe through. Continue maybe one more to either side. If you remember where you started, which side, you end on the other side. If not, then continue one or two more. And back to the center. If you've clasped the elbows, you can release the hands down and come back to center. And to even out the spine and the hips after the twist, we'll press into the feet. We'll lift the hips a little off the ground. Roll the spine back down. And draw the knees back into the chest. You might bring the knees in and out again. Or any other variation here. So we've done a few different things with knees to chest. We've circled. We've moved the knees in and out. We've rocked side to side. And we've also done this movement of extending the arms and legs and knees back to chest. So any combination of those movements to give the lower back a little massage and stretch. Maybe the arms and legs if you're following me in Urdhva Prasrita Tadasana, or UPP as we like to call it. The Sanskrit is quite a mouthful. Eventually bringing the knees back to the chest. Slowly releasing the feet to the floor. And as you're ready, roll onto one side. Use your opposite hand to support you in coming back upright. So we'll spend the last few minutes together doing a little bit of focused or conscious breathing. One of the tried and true ways of coming back to mindfulness is with the breath. Also a way of calming the mind when we feel agitated. It doesn't work always, all the time for all people. Right? If the breath is compromised, you might come back to something else in the present moment, like your body, sensations, the sounds around you. So find a comfortable seat. That could be back on your chair, it could be kneeling Could be sitting cross-legged, whatever works for you. As a lifetime canoeer and canoe instructor, sitting on my knees seems to be a pretty comfortable position most of the time. Whatever works for you. So as you come to that comfortable position, feel your weight in your sit bones. Feel the length of your spine growing out of your pelvis. Shoulders releasing down, the crown of the head lifting up. Arms relaxed onto the thighs or into the lap. Whatever is more comfortable for you, eyes can be closed or open. Let's come back to the breath, and if it feels comfortable for you to observe or lengthen the pauses between the inhale and exhale, you can use that to help you focus this morning. So you inhale, and that slight pause, maybe extend it to 1 or 2 seconds, and then exhale. And that slight pause at the end of the exhale, maybe extend it 1 or 2 seconds. Take about 2 more minutes with this breath awareness. Notice where your attention is. Bring it back to your breath whenever it wanders. Focusing on the breath. Mind is unable to also focus on speed, our thoughts. Maybe not unable, but more challenged. A few more breaths here. Let's take the palms together now on the heart. And I invite you again to chant with me. The chant may be familiar now. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Today we'll chant 3 times all together, so 3 times 3. And our focus with each one is sending peace to what's pleasant, peace to what's not pleasant, and peace to what's neutral. To all the ways that we engage with our bodies and minds, pleasant, unpleasant, neutral. So join me if you'd like, listen if you prefer. Inhaling. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. 2 more times. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Peace to what's pleasant, peace to what's unpleasant, peace to what's neutral, inviting it all in, loving whatever arises today as much as possible. You do not have to like it. Invite it in, accept it, recognize it as part of who you are, part of your unique tapestry, your beauty. Find that deep love for yourself as much as possible. Namaste.